Being gluten-free doesn't mean you have to give up your favorite foods. You just have to find new ways to enjoy them. Oh, are you complicating gluten-free? Tune in today. I can't wait to dive in. But first, I want to tell you that I am so glad that you're here. And I'm so glad that I'm here. Welcome to the Gluten-Free You and Me podcast and now YouTube channel, where we learn to navigate and simplify our lives together in this gluten-filled world. And as always, I am your host, Coral, and I am so excited to bring you today, this season, number 2, episode 14, Are You Complicating Gluten-Free? This podcast is brought to you by my very own gluten-free transformation program. You don't have to accept a mediocre life, thinking, okay, I'm just going to be gluten-free. But I am here to tell you, you can live your best gluten-free life. And you can do that here by tuning in and listening to my podcast each time an episode airs. But if you're ready to take it to the next level and you're like, okay, I want to cut all this crap. Like, I want to get to the point where I can live my best gluten-free life. Reach out to me, message me. My gluten-free transformation is a 12-week program that will take you from point A to point Z in 12 weeks that your mind is going to be blown. Okay, if you're interested, reach out to me. Message me at coral@servingceliacs.com. Link in the show notes. I will link it all for you. Reach out to me. Let's get you started today. But I want to dive into today's episode, so let's go. The topic has actually been on my mind for quite some time. And my last podcast episode is similar. But today I'm going to dive in to some of the best things. And I go over this with people every day as I coach them. And I see how complicated our minds are with gluten. And it's like becoming gluten-free seems like this daunting thing, and we are complicating it. So today I'm going to share with you the 3 tips that I feel will help you the best to accelerate this process, to get out of your brain and get to like eating and fueling your body properly of what it needs. Okay, so today's first topic, the first thing I'm going to talk about is it's actually not about the gluten. It's not about the gluten. I actually have a whole podcast episode. It's not about the gluten. But today I'm just going to give you a tidbit on it. It's not about the gluten. It's about your mindset around the gluten. Think about that. It's not the gluten itself. It's your mindset behind the gluten. And if we want to have a healthy relationship with food, we don't want to food shame. We don't want to put the gluten down. It has nothing to do with the gluten. It's all about how our bodies respond to it. And if we don't like it, then we shouldn't have it, right? If our bodies don't like it, we shouldn't be fueling it with it. The end. There's no drama with it. So if we realize and we take out the aspect of, holy smokes, what am I going to eat next? I can't eat anything, right? And change that, shift that. Realize it has little to do with the gluten and most about our emotions around food. I had one client that just reached out to me. She's in the middle of her transformation program. Actually, she's in like the 2nd or 3rd week of the 12-week program. And she messages me and she's like, holy smokes, now I know what's been wrong this whole time that I've been trying to be gluten-free on my own. I've complicated it. I've made it all about the gluten when really I need to focus in and dial in on my mind around the gluten and around this new lifestyle, that it's not some scary, intimidating, complicated thing. It's actually just simple shifts, simple swaps. And when you go to social gatherings, it's going to look different, but we actually go for the people, not necessarily the food. Isn't that interesting? So I help coach through these tough emotions. If you are complicating it, let's simplify. And that is my tip number 2 for today. So when whatever it is, if you're like, okay, this seems so complicated, this is now your opportunity and your job to simplify it. So I was coaching someone this morning I actually just got off a coaching call, and that's when I like to record these podcasts because I am like so amped up and pumped up. It's hard to just talk to a screen, right? But it's different when you're actually talking to somebody. So now I'm still on this high. I'm still on this like, okay, let's go. But I'm coaching this family, and it's actually a family. They're wanting this change, and not just for their child, but for all of them. And it's awesome. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And they come to me with different things. I say, okay, each week whenever you coach with me, we talk about our roses, like the things that like, okay, we had success this week and this is what that looked like. And then we talk about our thorns and like what's really hard. Like, okay, this was something so hard this week. And then by the end of the call, we have seeds, things that they can do, they can plant to grow more roses because we need more roses in our lives, right? And we're always going to have thorns. And we just deal with them as they come. So, and it's awesome because this week's thorns were smaller than they were the week prior. And their roses, there were many roses. They were like, wow, we have so many roses this week. This is week 4 for them, for this particular family. But I share with you because we want to have more roses, right? We need to have seeds that plant these roses. And we actually are doing work, mind work and physical work, to make this a new reality. I hope you're following me here. This is so, so important. So I asked them, I said, okay, so what are your thorns this week? One of the thorns this family was having is like, okay, my whole kitchen is gluten-free, and I thought I was doing really good, and then I realized my spices. I started searching at my spices aren't safe. What do? I feel so overwhelmed. And I'm like, perfect, let's simplify. So what we did, we coached through some of the things. But one thing I said is like, let's find go-to brands. Like I love Redmond Real Salt. I love it. They have the best blends, the best flavoring. Their salt has trace minerals. It's really awesome. It's a good, solid brand. So finding your good, safe brands, and they're all gluten-free. So finding your safe brands will help you to simplify. Because then you're not having a whole mess of like different blends and you're wondering which one is safe. It's like, okay, well, just get the good blends that don't have gluten in them. Another one I love is Simply Organics, where you can find in so many different places. I find them at like Smith's or Kroger's or Ralph's. I also find them at Target. I find them at lots of places, Thrive Market. So we just simplify that. Something that was so daunting to her, she's like, I just don't know. And you think like, oh, spices, that's like not even a big deal. But it is. It's a big deal. But once you simplify it and you just go with a few go-to brands that are safe, you're good. Do you see how we can complicate in our brains? Like, oh my goodness, I can't ever have this again. Or like, this is so hard. But once you have those safe spices, actually cooking isn't a problem. You went through all the effort to get the gluten-free pasta. You went through all the effort to make sure everything was gluten-free. Fix your spices in your shelves, in your kitchen, and then live that, like, simplify that. Even if you have a split home of gluten and gluten-free, like slowly get rid of the gluten spices and replace with all gluten-free spices, and you've simplified your life. Whatever is hanging you up in this gluten-free world, let me tell you and let me offer you this thought that it's actually in your mind and there isn't really a problem. And we can navigate through that. You can navigate through it. Okay, same family this morning. I want to tell you their thorns. I like to tell you these things because maybe you're going through it too. Maybe you're not, but you're like, oh, that's good to know that everybody has weaknesses and thorns, right? This family told me that their son is starting to play, I think it was soccer. And they're like, I don't know what to do about snacks. Everybody signs up. And I'm like, okay, perfect. Let's simplify. Because that seemed like a daunting thing. Like, should we even put them in? Or, I don't know what was going through their mind, but it's like, that was like a huge thorn and I don't know what to do. It's like uncharted territory. What do I do? Okay. So it's complicated in their brain right now because they don't have a plan of action. So what do? We create a plan of action with lots of options, lots of variables. And then from there, you can take that and you've simplified it. So what this family in particular decided, like as they were talking with me, they're like, you know what? Another child on the team needs to be gluten-free too. And I'm like, perfect. That's 2 of the 8 or whatever that they have on that team. Like, That's like awesome. Get with the other parent. So what they're going to do is get with the other parent, find a list of like gluten-free safe snacks and present it to everybody. And if that seems too complicated for the other people to provide gluten-free safe snacks, no worries. I've got a car full of snacks always. So if the snack isn't safe, don't stress about it because I've got backup in my car and my son will be happy as ever. And then they said, okay, so what does the car look like? And if you haven't had listen to the episodes on my car pantry, that would be an awesome thing to listen to. But car pantry, in the summertime especially, it's hot and so you don't know what to put in there in your, in the back of your car. But what things that we do are like fruit snacks. Fruit snacks are generally gluten-free, so make sure that they are. I haven't found one that has gluten in it, but yeah. But I like to get real fruit snacks or fruit strips that don't have dyes and all of that in it. And that's what I put in my car. And then I put like packages of like peanuts or almonds or different things like that. Chips are always a good one. And then water. I have water bottles. And some of you will say, and you'll message me, I get it all the time. They're like, you shouldn't put water in your car because the heat, especially in the summer with the plastic. But I'm here to tell you, like, it needs to be in your car for a significant amount of time. Ours, we're going through these weekly. Like every week we're having new waters in there. Why? Because we're at the park and the kids are like, I need a water, and I switch it out. So I don't put like a ton in my car. I put enough for the week, and then every week I reevaluate. Like each week you go to the grocery store and you look at your fridge and your pantry. Well, I also will look at my car and say, what car snacks do I need? And that's not just for emergency use. That's for our everyday. If we go to the park, I'm not stressed. Like if we're not going to be home for an extra hour or two, I got food in the car. My kids will be fine. So they don't have a full meal for a little bit because we don't run through fast food stores, restaurants often. But they will have enough to get by. And then like also, I'll put like little those Annie gluten-free mac and cheese cups in there that you just add water. So if you're in a pinch and you're like, oh shoot, I want to drop off at my friend's house where I'm going to get home, till after dinner. Perfect. You just add water to the mac and cheese and you're good. The gluten-free mac and cheese packets. So there's so many different things, and oatmeal cups or whatever you want to have. And that could be your backup, right? Just in case of an emergency or a preference of an emergency that, anyways. So there's things that you can do. See how you can simplify it. It might seem too daunting to go on vacation, but simplify it. Make it doable. Do your research beforehand. Listen to other podcasts that I have on traveling with gluten-free. Like do your work, your prep work. And then when you're there, working on that mental frame of mind that like, okay, some parts are going to be hard. Of course they're going to be hard. Of course you're going to have thorns, but we're going to have roses because we're going to enjoy this vacation. I had the most interesting message this week. And this is where I knew I had to do a podcast or YouTube video on this very topic. So last minute on Sunday, and like we don't usually like go to the store and stuff on Sundays. We just kind of make it more of a day of rest and be with family and close friends, and we just kind of relax, and it's a separate day. And we go to church and stuff. Okay, so church isn't the afterthought. I just wanted, yeah. Anyways, okay, so I go off on tangents, and I'm so sorry, but this is how you know how real I am. And what I'm teaching you is exactly what we do. And when I go on a tangent, it's because my heart and my passion is so dialed in because we're living it. Okay, so Sunday, get invited to my friend's barbecue. And I thought, okay, well, I have like cake mix. I can totally make some cupcakes and that'll be fun. I'm like, okay, what are we going to make? Like they were going to have steaks and, whatever, and their seasonings and all of that. And I just didn't feel like calling them and being like, what kind of seasonings do you have? Like, are they all safe for us? And like, I didn't feel like doing that. So what I did is I knew I had some chicken breasts in the fridge and I knew I needed to cook it within the next couple days. So I sliced them up and I got my gluten-free teriyaki sauce and I dumped it in the bag and I switched it around and it marinated for about 30, 45 minutes. Like perfect. And then I brought foil sheets and I was like, perfect. I knew they were barbecuing. So I'm like, I'll bring some foil for their barbecue just in case of cross contact or whatever. If they were putting buns or anything like that, bread on their grill, like ours would be safe. And so I brought foil and I brought my chicken and I brought cupcakes. So I do a video, I do a little story on gluten-free with Coral on Instagram, and it was awesome. It was perfect. I'm like, look at this. Okay, we have some chicken and we have cupcakes, and we're going to a barbecue. Instead of saying, no, we can't really go because, I don't know if you're going to have safe foods, or calling them and making a big deal at that time because we're not like super, like they don't know how to live gluten-free quite yet. Maybe they'll evolve to that. But right now I was like, didn't want to complicate it. I was like, I just have my bag of chicken and I have my cupcakes. And if that's all we eat while we're there, that's great. Like, that's fine. It's not going to kill us to only have chicken and cupcakes for one meal, right? And so it's like that mindset. So I posted this on my stories. Someone messaged me. I get weird messages. Like, there's trolls, and then there's like people that are really like sincere about this. And she messaged me and she's like, well, that's great for you, but I've just had so many negative comments from friends and family that I just can't do it. And that is just too hard for me. I'm glad that you feel safe doing that. And I sat with that and I'm like, oh man, she's missing the boat. She's missing the boat. I've had the worst comments made to me by family members, by friends. And guess what? If I don't choose to hang around those people, that's like fine. I don't have to associate or spend my time with people that are negative to me. I choose people who wouldn't be so negative, right? And you say, well, you can't choose your family. Yeah, I know you can't. But when it comes to family things, if they're not going to understand, guess what? We eat before, or we don't go, or we eat after, or I choose. Situation, case by case, right? Like, it's not it's uncharted territory every single time. However I'm feeling, how I know that I will be strong and show up my best, that is where I'm at. So I responded to this girl and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry you feel that way. I've also had a lot of negative comments, and I just choose not to be offended because they don't know like how it is to live this way. And that's fine. We don't do it to be complicated. We do it to survive, right? Like, we're doing it to thrive, to fuel our bodies with the best foods. And it just made me sad. And I said, hey, reach out to me if you want any coaching about this. Chances are, since she was in that mindset, she's probably not going to reach out to me. Why? Because I coach people who are actually ready, who are ready to make that change, who aren't going to let other people stop them. It is only your job to simplify this gluten-free life. It's not up to everybody else. You can't show up to a party and expect everybody else to have it safe for you. That's your job. And if all you're eating is grilled chicken and cupcakes, you are doing pretty dang good. I just want to remind you of that. Okay, so first tip I gave today, it's really not about the gluten. It's about your mindset. And tip number 2, if it seems complicated, simplify it and accept it. That's it. It's not as hard as we make it. And the third one, I want you to create your gluten-free plan of action. I want you to have a plan. When you see those thorns arise, I want you to come with a solution. It doesn't matter if you're day 1 of being gluten-free or 20 years in, 30 years in. If you have a complicated area, a thorn that you're struggling with the gluten-free lifestyle, I want you to create a plan of action. And if you are like, I don't know what to do, or I don't know what I'm doing, that is the perfect opportunity for you to reach out to me and I can help you. My 12-week program will take you to where you want to be. If you don't need my program, hallelujah, good job. Pat yourself on the back. Let's go. I am so proud of you. You have done the work and you have grinded and you have figured it out. But when things don't seem when you're feeling I don't see light in this situation, it is just too hard, you reach out to me and I will help you provide that light for yourself, not expecting it from anybody else. Showing up with that party with a cupcake and your chicken breasts. Like, right? Like, you can do this, and I can help you take you to that level. It's amazing. Like I mentioned before, like, I have people, like, I just watch people's countenance. We do live calls. When I'm coaching, I'm coaching through video because I want to see their faces. I want to see their countenances. I want to know how they're really doing. Not the surface, like, oh, it's okay this week. Like, I want to see it and know it. And as I watch these people and these families go from like, I have no idea what I'm doing and I don't even know how to feed my family. And I watch them build that confidence through the 12 weeks. And by the end of the 12 weeks, they are like on cloud 9. They're gluten-free cloud 9. That is where they are. Is it going to be easy for the rest of their life? No. Is it easy for me every day? No. But what it is I have a clear path. I know what I'm going into. I know if we get invited to a barbecue, I know what I need to do. I know when I send my kids to school and they need a 504 plan, I got it. I know that, like, even when I'm gluten-free and I'm still having flare-ups of some sorts of inflammation, I know how to fuel my body. I don't just help people with their gluten-free transformation, although that's where my heart and passion lies because I know how to get through that. I also help people with inflammation. And I take those 12 weeks and we can alter it and tailor it to specific needs. And sometimes it's gluten-free celiac, sometimes it's gluten-free autoimmune, sometimes it's gluten-free because there's an intolerance. And then sometimes it's like we need an added measure to help heal a body. And I got you on that. I became an integrative health practitioner to be able to have the backup, the certificates to back up exactly what I'm doing, exactly what I'm preaching, and all of that. Oh, I am so glad that you tuned in today. I want to remind you, it's really not about the gluten. It's about your mindset. And when things seem too complicated, simplify it. And I want you to create your plan of gluten-free action, whatever that is, with or without me. I want you to do it. Well, I'm always with you. Like, honestly, I'm always cheering you on. You message me or whatever, I'm always cheering you on. But if you want me to guide you through all of the uncertainty, all of your doubts, all of your fears, I'm here for you. You guys, again, thank you so much for tuning in. I would be honored to be your gluten-free coach. I really would. And I only have limited spots. This is a part-time business that I have with my coaching. And it's where my passion lies. And if I can help you get to there, and if you're really ready, you have to be really ready to work with me. But if you're really ready to work with me, reach out to me. And I'll be with you every step of the way. And I'll help you live your best gluten-free life. And I just want to say thank you. And double check to make sure that you've subscribed to either the YouTube or this podcast. And if you leave a review, I would be so thrilled. If you're listening to on iTunes or wherever you're listening to, drop a review. I read all of the reviews that come in, and it kind of fuels me and reminds me, like, okay, yes, people are listening. Because when you're just talking to a screen, it's a little bit different. You need that interaction. And so leaving a comment review means the world to me. And yes, and fuels me. So I'll keep recording for you. But double check to make sure that you've subscribed to this podcast or YouTube so you don't miss another episode, and go and have the best gluten-free day.